Hello, sir, and welcome to the Masculine Tribe podcast, where I ask the questions that help you identify, cultivate, and apply principles of masculinity. I'm your host, Todd Michael. Today we explore how honesty is a principle of masculinity and how being more honest with yourself and others will increase masculinity in any man. I'm glad you're here. When was the last time you lied? How often are you dishonest? How many lies have you told today? Your first instinct might be to think you haven't told any lies, but that's probably just another form of dishonesty, or more specifically, lying to yourself. When was the last time you were lied to? Was it by someone you generally trust? Was it by someone you expect to be dishonest with you? Did you even question it as it happened? Did you even notice? Why do so many men lie? There are, of course, too many subtle reasons to list them all, but let's consider some of the most common themes. We lie when we want to avoid discomfort, inconvenience, or embarrassment. We lie when we want to gain favor with or an advantage over others. We lie in order to appear more successful than we are, and we lie when we are ashamed to admit our mistakes or weaknesses. Common examples include padding your resume, taking credit for work other people did, or pretending like you know more about a subject than you actually do. It can also take the form of lying about how we feel about others, lying about our hobbies or interests, and even lying about basic facts of who we are, such as our age, weight, and height. We even lie to ourselves about our accomplishments, our failures, and even our motivations. Each may make us feel more masculine in the moment, but at what cost? Another common reason men are dishonest is for the sake of manipulation itself, or, in other words, to feel powerful. Knowing you can paint your reality with your words can be tempting for some men, especially those with narcissistic or sociopathic tendencies. Upon closer examination, however, we can clearly see that this sense of power is based entirely on an illusion of power. What power is there in needing to create a false version of reality in order to have any relevance? What power is there in forcing others to play make believe to protect your self image? Contrast that with the absolute power and autonomy a man can feel when he squarely faces the realities of his situation and still holds his head high, accepts responsibility for his life, and accountability for his actions. Being a masculine man of principle who values dealing in truth is a true source of power. Anything short of this is a counterfeit to true masculinity. There is power in honesty, and as Jordan Peterson puts it, if you can't tell the truth, at least don't lie. In other words, it may not be attainable to always tell the truth, because to tell the truth, one must identify the truth. It is, however, quite possible for any one of us to avoid speaking things that we know are lies. Admittedly, many instances of dishonesty aren't outright lies. They take the form of half truths, omission of facts, or a distraction from an undesirable reality. We justify them by assuming they are too insignificant to matter in the long run, or by weighing the benefits against the potential risks and presuming the ends justify the means. For all of the ways lying appears to benefit a man in the short term, we cannot forget that with even the smallest of lies comes many unintended short and long term negative consequences. For one thing, lying takes up a tremendous amount of focus or CPU power in your psyche. You not only have to think up the lie, you then analyze it to make sure it's plausible, and often create many other smaller peripheral lies to protect or keep it going. If a man gets to the point where he is living several lies with several people in his life, he will likely end up creating one or more false identities that even he starts believing, all to avoid coming to terms with the absurdity of some of his most basic initial deceptions. There is nothing manly about not having a solid frame by which you live. For another thing, lies are only beneficial for as long as they go undetected. The moment you are caught in a lie, big or small, the advantages thereof quickly fade. If you get caught in multiple lies over time, it damages your reputation, negatively impacts your relationships, and erodes other people's trust in you. That's to say nothing of the mental anguish of waiting for your house of cards to fall, knowing at any point your deceptions could be exposed. From there, the road to full on paranoia can be a short and emasculating trip. Lastly, think of the toll that being dishonest takes on your own self image. Most self respecting men understand that lying is morally objectionable. Generally, we value honesty. When we make an exception and let a few lies slip in, however, it becomes easier and easier to let it happen again and again. Before long, we run the risk of becoming completely comfortable with lying, which may be tolerable for a season, but eventually we will have to reconcile that dishonesty with our initial view of the importance of being truthful. The trouble with being honest is it often costs us something in the short term, be it time, pride, or even money. And for many, that is too high a cost of entry. We forget about the long term benefits for fear of losing out on some short term gain. I remember one time when I was working for a general contractor, and he told me to take down an entire screened in porch. Or at least, that's what I thought he had asked me to do. His exact words were, "Take everything down." What he meant, I later found out, was take everything but the framing down. I demolished all three walls, the windows, and the framing, leaving only the roof attached at the house. When I called him out to direct me on how to take down the roof, he flipped out. I felt bad and wanted to make things right, so I offered to pay for the needed repairs to get it back to normal. It would have been my pay for the entire week. Instead of taking the money, however, he took ownership for not explaining himself more clearly, and we worked together to complete the job. I learned a valuable lesson through that experience. I learned how good it felt to face an undesirable consequence, losing out on a week of pay, but still choose it in the name of honesty, a highly desirable principle to live by. I also learned of the great relief and joy of having another man honestly take responsibility for his part in the situation, saving me from that loss. He didn't lie, blame me, or attempt to cheat me out of money that he didn't feel entitled to. Now I want you to think of one of the most honest men you have ever known. Get a visual of him in your mind. What about him makes you think of him as being honest? What do you know about his beliefs? What does he communicate with his behaviors? How do you and others regard him? Is he well respected? Is he trusted? Do people generally listen to him when he speaks? Does he have manifestations of influence over others and control over his own life? Do you see him as being masculine? If you can recognize these positive results of honesty in him, why haven't you cultivated more honesty in yourself? It's probably because you've been lying to yourself and didn't think there was a need to. Now, there is, of course, a downside to telling the truth if we do so without tact or command over our language. Telling your boss, a business partner, or employee how poorly you think of them every time you see them probably isn't going to go over very well. Likewise, calling your local state trooper office to report each time you break the speed limit probably isn't necessary. Conversely, broadcasting how honest you are to others for the sole purpose of virtue signaling may have an equally negative impact on your reputation as would being dishonest in the first place. This is especially so if you're more concerned with appearing to be honest than you are with actually telling the truth. Lastly, there may even be times when, in order to protect your loved ones, you will need to withhold truth, at least to some degree. Life is rarely a matter of absolutes, gents. What is important here is cultivating the principle of honesty as a guiding force in your daily decisions, establishing honesty as the standard and dishonesty as the exception, not the rule. This is how a masculine man of principle can apply honesty in his life. It's time to take a hard look at yourself and your own honesty. Consider your beliefs and your behaviors. Are you honest? Do you in actuality tell the truth as often as you think you do? Or is ignoring your lies just another one of your deceptions? Are you being honest with yourself about how honest you are with others? Do you speak the truth to others? Do you expect them to do the same? When you suspect someone is lying to you, do you hold them accountable to the truth? Do you praise others for being truthful and seek out those who you know you can trust? Do you stick up for others when they are pressured to lie? It's time to be honest about what we need to change about ourselves to become masculine men of principle, men who others trust, men who have solid reputations for being honest, telling it like it is, and not withholding truths, even when they're uncomfortable. If you recognize that the world needs more masculine men and that being honest is a great way to start becoming more manly, head on over to masculinetribe.com and join the tribe today. We need you, and we want to help you become the man you know you were meant to be. Until next time, gents, be honest and be masculine.